The basketball life was all coming to an end. I was fortunate enough to play ball for so long, but I always thought about what would I do afterwards. My options seemed limited since I was now in my 30s with little to no workforce experience. For the past decade, I worked on my own time with no concrete routine. So I knew the workforce wasn't for me. But if I wasn't going to get a job, what would I do next? That question lingered for a while before I could actually answer it. But what was the ultimate move that gave me the clarity and insight on what to do next? How and why did I move to China? Before we start, if you could just smash that like and subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it. Your support helps me share more information and insights on traveling and living abroad. Let's get into it. I'm Andrew and welcome to the channel. I've been to over 40 countries and lived in 3 different ones with over a decade of experience traveling and living abroad. So in this video, I'm gonna share how and why I decided to move to China. There I was sitting in my agent's office at the end of another basketball season, but this time it felt different. In my 20s, my basketball salary had gone up every year, but in my 30s, it was falling fast. When I talked to my agent about my on-court performance still being good, but my pay still going down, my agent just lifted his head slowly, looked me in the eye and said, "So what you want to do?" I no longer was the young kid on the team anymore. I could feel that season was my last one, and a desire to do something different was starting to set in. Anyways, I had been running my small basketball business during the summer every year between basketball contracts. So I'm just sitting there in his office looking at all the accomplishments on his wall. So I thought about just asking him if he knew any contacts that would be willing to partner with me and do business. He looked at me intensely and said, "I think you should come to Shanghai, China and play in a worldwide basketball tournament." So I'm like, okay, go ahead. And then he said a lot of people in the basketball industry would be there. And then he said I could help them win the tournament, get paid, and he would introduce me to some basketball people. And so I said, okay, bet. I agreed. I packed my bags and I was on the first plane to Shanghai. But when I arrived, everything was like New York, but slightly different. It was a high-tech world I had no idea existed. We arrived at the arena and the fans went crazy, cheering and welcoming us to China while asking us for autographs in a way that I had never previously experienced my whole entire career in Europe. As the game started, the crowd got even more ecstatic. This worldwide basketball tournament was non-stop energy from beginning to the end. I had no idea China had so many live basketball fans. I wanted to make some basketball contacts, so that's what I did. I made my contacts in China, but it's not like I could just stay there and do business right away. Of course, I had to go back to America with the team, but as soon as I got back, I contacted the people I had made contacts with, and after some conversation and a few days going by, they were willing to collaborate. So I started processing paperwork, sending emails, making phone calls. Now, it was a long process, but I stuck with it. And eventually I moved to China. So before I left, I talked to my agent again and he explained to me the lower prices of living and other things that would be different there. I knew there was no real way of truly knowing unless I just did it. The reason I moved to China was simple, and I'm sure you guessed it already: opportunity. In America, starting at the bottom at a 9 to 5 is nothing wrong with that, but it was not ideal for someone being already in their 30s. And I now had the opportunity to run my business full-time in China. Just by traveling to Shanghai exposed me to new possibilities. I finally had a long-term plan. Now, of course, there were some sacrifices to moving again, but as long as the benefits outweighed the sacrifices, I knew I'd be good. With that said, whatever your reasons are, look for opportunities everywhere. Don't limit yourself to just one city or state or even the country. Your own decision-making process will broaden despite where you're thinking about traveling or living. You never know what opportunities may come. That explains how and why I moved to China. That does it for this one. I'll see you in the next video.